Welcome to the incomparable, indisputably idiosyncratic Undress Pod Show. Yes, you've managed to arrive at yet another Wednesday. Have I already been at the beer? Yes. At another Wednesday night undress show. So the other day there was an election and possible cabinet member Sarah Palin is waiting for her friend Vlad to pop over for drinks. She likes to watch him from her window, you know. President-elect Trump actually lost the popular vote. That means more people voted for Hillary Clinton. Who suggested that we should give Trump a chance? She did. Let's hope he gives her a chance before Rudy Giuliani arrests her in his first act as Attorney General. After a long night, here we are again at Uncle Conroy's, where we feel safe amongst the old steak fries. Let me gently introduce our panel for tonight's debate. We got a chuckle there from Evo. The magic Dr. Orlando, the indefatigable Kathleen Taylor.
Hello.
That marvel of sophistication, Jane Carter.
Hello.
Dark Lord of Transylvanian pheromones, Ivo Ivanov.
Yes.
And Mikey Pokorny, stand-up comedian and part-time Punxsutawney's Phil.
He just told you to stand up.
We've been up for 24 hours. What do you want? Without further ado, the first question for our panel tonight, which I'm being passed so that I can tell you. We thought we won't do politics as the first question. We'll just sort of slide into it quietly. Imagine if there was a cyber attack against the country, and for whatever reason we lost all internet, i.e. no email, no internet search, no cell communication. All communication has to be wired or cabled. In fact, we go back to pre-1980 technology. What would that mean to you? Walkie-talkies? Surge in library subscriptions? Teenagers behaving like zombies? The return of snail mail? What would it mean? Evo, you go first.
Man, people have to use their imagination instead of pornography. It's going to be
God.
tough.
How dare you, sir?
I do this once a year. I turn all screens off, and it's always on a specific date in April, and don't use any technology, and it's fantastic.
How long does it last?
Just one day. But what happens is you end up noticing much more stuff around you. I end up walking around the neighborhood. I read the newspaper, the old-fashioned newspaper. I read some, read more. Don't turn any screens on. So it's kind of fun, actually. It's kind of refreshing. But then I gotta admit, towards the end of the day, you're kind of anxious, and you kind of are hoping this day will end. You can go back to everything that you're so used to. But,
Technology fever.
There are people that live out in the woods, away from all of the hustle and bustle, and the rest of us
Like Jon Stewart.
Like Jon Stewart.
Yeah.
But then there's like the rest of us that are grown to our amenities, and the whole notion of getting away from it all is exactly that, a vacation, getting away from it all. So I could definitely understand how, if you are the camping type, the notion of getting away from modern technology holds appeal for you. But it doesn't for me. It is right now is the one time that I can keep my mind busy enough that I don't feel like I'm constantly crawling out of my skin.
So what would it mean to you, though, if it looked like, because you're now using the radio, you've worked out where you found a radio. You did have a radio in the garage that your mother had given you a long time ago. And they've been saying on the radio that the internet is not likely to come back for 6 or 9 months.
Would your car work?
What would happen? Yeah, your car works.
I think that there would be a concerted effort or lots of little efforts to bring it back more or less immediately, and I would be a part of that.
So total denial.
What
No, it's
you're
not
saying
denial.
is
It is.
a lot of stuff will stop working. What he's saying, is that what you're saying, that cars will stop working because everything's...
Not necessarily. I'm saying that we are used to a certain level of information input.
And connectivity.
Yeah, some Russian 14-year-old working for Putin, says, right, hey, let's press this button, and they do, and all of a sudden the cell phones don't work anymore, internet's gone down, and no one can get it back up.
Yeah, so the way that I interpret that question for me is there's some physical feature of the Earth that has been sabotaged. And so I think that for the scientific bent, we're going to figure out an alternate.
You know what I've noticed, that the internet has become somewhat of a collective consciousness, like a common consciousness, and it's become harder and harder for us to actually reason and think without it, make decisions without it. We inform our decisions based on communicating with each other via the internet or finding necessary information immediately. It's always at our fingertips, and so it's become harder and harder for people to just engage their executive function without the support of the internet. And so I think, we have less and less time for that incredibly important internal dialogue with yourself. We are very rarely are you on your own with yourself. I notice that I'm constantly listening to podcasts. I'm constantly doing something that, or reading on the internet, and I have less and less time of this contemplative process that actually gives birth to original ideas and interesting thoughts. And I think it's important to have those couple hours a day maybe where you're on your own with yourself. So I don't know. I
think 2 hours is excessive to be on your own with yourself.
Really?
20 minutes I find is plenty.
20 minutes
3
on the
minutes.
hot.
Jane.
That's all I need.
Yep.
So I have so much to say on this, so I'm going to try to limit myself as
And
best
stop
as
looking at
possible.
your phone. The
No,
idea is your phone
I
is
just
no longer
bought
working.
This today. John Seymour's Self-Sufficient Life and How to Live It, the complete back to basics guide. This book is amazing. It teaches you everything that you should have been paying attention to in the first place. Anything from, canning foods all the way to the pH levels in all the soils in every part of the country so you could grow if you really need to. I mean, it's just really cool.
That's interesting. What's the name of that?
I have to read it from my phone.
Yeah,
John Seymour's Self-Sufficient Life and How to Live It.
that's interesting.
Now,
We gotta
just
check that out.
because I'm very cool, and you have to admit I am quite cool.
You're pretty cool.
I am pretty cool.
Please don't
would
tell
you,
him that.
Would you
Don't-
like?
don't let
would
him
you
know.
like? Would you? You would, wouldn't you? Would you like the actual book?
Do you have the book?
Of course.
Oh wow, nice.
Yes.
That would be
I would,
fantastic.
as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
John Seymour is actually dead.
As opposed to imaginarily dead.
You can buy dead people's
He
books,
died.
though,
He died getting poisoned by the high pH of the soil that he was growing tomatoes in. I want to point out that between the time the question was asked and right now, Mikey Pokorny has spent maybe 7 seconds not typing or looking at his smartphone.
I'm in a huge Twitter war with Trump right now. Huge
isn't?
Twitter war.
I mean, really.
Just huge
He's
Twitter
our
war.
first Twitter president,
But
But
you
we'll
know-
talk about him later.
Oh, go ahead.
You were talking. Go
Oh,
for
I
it.
was just gonna say that when I do go overseas,
gonna get rid of drugs,
this last time that I went over to the UK in May is the very first time I ever had my cell phone with me. I don't take anything with me ever when we go, and I've been traveling since 2001. So
You
Pretty
hope to
much-
arrive.
every other year or so, I just don't take laptops. I don't take our iPads. We take nothing with us, and it's really cool. The only time I ever notice it is when we get separated, and I wish that I could just text and say, "Where are you?" or call. Other than that, it doesn't bother me if I'm like, "Who's that actress? Who's that actress?" Well, let me just Google it real quick. Yeah, that kind of stuff doesn't bother me at all. I don't know.
See,
I
and
don't think it would bother
gotta
me.
go with although if I think about it, probably the one of the absolute best times that I ever had goes back to Bulgaria, because I was there without technology,
That's right.
and it was magnificent. And I remember when I went, I was suffering from overload from my phone. I was getting emails multiple emails throughout the night because I was running the IT department, and just there were so many demands on me that were being facilitated by the ease of access that other people had to me.
Yeah.
That getting away from my phone was maybe the thing that saved my sanity at that point.
Mikey,
was great.
Oh, me. Oh, yes, you.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. As he looks up from his cell phone.
Huge Twitter war.
Huge. So, tell us what you think would be the situation if you didn't have the internet. I mean, you do stand-up comedy. Would you have to write your own stuff?
I don't know. I lost the internet the other day for 3 hours. I had to resort to masturbation by mirror.
I know, that can be difficult.
It was very
Ew.
difficult.
You don't know
What
which hand to
is-
use, do
Obviously
you?
referring to the two-way mirror in the dressing room at... Oh, never mind.
It's one-way mirror. One-way mirror. Only one person can see me masturbate, and that's me. So
He's a visual
So you
learner.
think-
yes.
It's obvious.
Yes.
But what has this got to do with loss of the internet?
Oh, come on.
Desperate times call for
Porn.
desperate measures.
Internet is
The internet is for
99%
porn.
Yeah.
But
So,
Kathleen,
Mikey,
all right, go on.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, Mikey, tell us about the Twitter war. The Twitter war.
oh, I just have so many stupid friends who have really stupid friends who have even more stupid friends
It's
who are
all about last night.
who are totally okay and fine with racism, misogyny, and xenophobia, bigotry.
50% of the population.
Kathleen, let's bring it back to.
Well, I'm probably way less dependent on technology than most of you. I have always avoided getting very far into Facebook. I could go for months without even glancing at a Facebook.
I don't even
page
have
or
it.
anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't. I very rarely text. Hardly telephone. I depend on. At work, yes, I use a computer, and I'm on the internet, but not. But that's just the technology I use. It's so I wouldn't find any difference. I'm quite prepared to go back to basics. I could do without electricity, without any real problem. So
And the weird
it's no
thing
big
is
deal.
that Kathleen and I are quite a lot older than you guys, and when we met in 1999,
I could do it too.
we did have the internet. I mean, we were using email, weren't we? Email a lot.
Chat rooms.
No,
Yeah,
ICQ.
no
the chat room.
ICQ.
no, I don't want to chat with
And
other
Kathleen
people.
had her own server, of course,
Private server.
private server. But we didn't use the internet. In fact, I didn't know how to use the internet when I met you.
You still don't, sweetie.
It was you who showed me how to get porn on the computer,
God.
for which I'm grateful, of course. So we think we'd survive, do we?
Absolutely.
I could.
Oh, yeah.
The first thing you'd do is go invest in a newspaper. I mean, invest in a newspaper company, because that would be the first thing that would be in demand.
I'm
gotta
just
get news
interested
somehow.
in.
Service would
So
definitely be
completely
back
disagree.
in the biz.
Yeah.
Pigeons.
I'm just
Pigeon,
interested-
carrier
Ooh,
pigeons.
pigeons.
Yeah,
I
pigeons.
so completely disagree.
Oh,
I just
really?
want to ask a member of our audience.
What? Why do you disagree?
Because
What would you do,
this-
member of the audience, if all of a sudden you lost the internet and all that goes with the internet? So that means no cell phone, no computers, none of that stuff. Everything has to be
No,
wired.
no. The man's gonna faint. Don't
oh.
don't torture him that way.
Can you get that guest a glass of water?
I'm honestly not certain what I would do, because the entire world is tied up with the internet, because we don't even have to think of just the entertainment value, but the fact that all of the world's money is stored on the digital, stored digitally, essentially.
Well, except for the gold bullion in my bank. Oh,
Yeah. It's essentially
Trump's money at the top of Trump Tower.
It's essentially the only way I could the only thing I could really think to say is start learning how to live in a pre-technology, moneyless society until it rebuilds. Because what else?
society before the internet was not moneyless.
John
But
Seymour's
here's
self-sufficient life
but
and
here's
how
the
to live
deal.
it.
That's what we have become. All of the world's wealth. The minute the internet is the minute.
We've still got checks.
But where is that
For
money
God's
stored?
sake, I mean, you still got armored cars that transfer
where's
money around. It's possible.
But where is that money stored now? Where's that money stored?
Well, the
It's
funds are
stored
backed up
digitally.
Banks
in
never
assets.
just kept it in their back room.
really?
They're backed up in assets and
Really?
they're supposed to be. I thought they were.
I bet you youngsters don't even know how to spell the word check.
CHEQUE.
Good boy. Well done.
Boom.
Boom.
Something British.
you
Oh
look
yeah.
that up
Well,
in
why don't you
English?
tell me what the word how the word color is spelled?
Yeah. Color. Absolutely.
You only say it that way if you got a lot of anur.
Okay, so last night, yesterday, in the light of yesterday's election results, guess what day it is today? In the light of yesterday's election results, what sort of world are we going to live in over the next 4 years? Kathleen first.
Oh, over the next 4 years? Nobody knows. The troubles
So we're
I've
asking
seen.
you
You're
to-
gonna do that.
No, honestly, the thing, and honestly is the correct word here. Nobody knows what Trump wants to do really. All we have ever heard from him are lies.
Populist, yeah, lies, yeah.
Yeah, and we don't know how much of it he really means and what he doesn't really mean. He said what he had to say to get the votes of the people he thought he had to get to win the presidency.
Yep.
What he's going to do is anybody's guess. Probably he's going to hive it off to somebody else, possibly what's his face?
Which what's his face?
Pence, who I have no opinion of. Anyway, he'll probably simply let somebody else take care of it and concentrate on trying to get stuff through that will benefit himself, because
Yeah.
that's what he's done all his life. And
Yeah.
we don't know what that's going to be.
I like this. I like the point you brought forward that really his entire life, this man has always done things for himself.
Yeah.
And it's kind of comical that he's trying to portray himself as somebody who cares about other people, because he has never done anything in his life that
Yeah.
has benefited anybody else but himself.
Yeah.
So I expect
Directly tied to
what you said. I expect that he's going to continue this, and
And he's a pathological liar. I've never heard
Oh,
him tell
God.
the truth about anything.
I'm not sure that he's actually presented himself as caring about somebody else. I agree with everything that you said, except when he
Yes,
portrays.
he does. I'm the only one who can fix it. He intends to
But
But he's
fix
not
it.
talking about fixing it for anybody other than himself.
I'm
impression
going to
he
get
tries
you
to give.
jobs.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm going to get you this. I'm going to get you that. I'm going to bring manufacturing back to the United.
Yeah, he says that stuff specifically.
I'm going to repeal Obamacare, and then they ask him, "What are you going to replace it with?" Something terrific.
HMOs.
Well,
Yeah,
all right,
that
let me
failed
start
idea.
throwing some questions at you. Lots and lots of people have got Obamacare, one way or another. That's what they call it. They now have healthcare, free at the point of delivery, in some shape or another. Does the team actually believe that that is going to be simply removed, or
Without
do you
question.
think it's going
Well,
to be
it's not
replaced?
working. It's not working well right now. It takes time for this to work, so I think they're gonna repeal it.
You know,
too.
one of the one things that increased in value on the stock market when Trump won were the pharmaceutical stocks. Because they knew that their prices were going to be allowed to continue to rise and rise and rise.
Hospital stocks have gone down today.
Yeah, hospitals are going to be in deep shit. So are people. But drug companies, they're going to be fine.
And the worst part, the one amazing thing about Obamacare is disallowing the pre-existing condition, prejudice.
Yeah.
That was inhuman, and this is going to come back, the pre-existing condition. And
How do we feel about Trump's view? Today he has already spoken with Putin and Netanyahu from Israel, and has invited Netanyahu over for talks, and is intending to fly Trump Force One to Moscow to see Putin, whilst there is a sitting president.
yeah,
How do we feel about that? Is that a sensible thing? And then what I want you to do is, would you, each of you, including you, Mikey, because you are with us, aren't you?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes,
Oh yeah.
right, okay.
Oh yeah. Huge.
Hugely.
Big league.
Do we care? And then I want to put another question to you about that subject.
I don't care.
you don't care.
I don't care whether he goes and sees people. That he'll just display what an idiot he is earlier than he had to. He should be taking the time, actually learning what's what, but we know he hasn't got the attention span to do that. If it's not something splashy, he's not going to be able to stick to it.
What is amazing to me is that he's been puppeteered already for months by quite possibly the biggest dictator in the world,
Yeah.
a human rights violator, serial human rights violator, a guy that's very, very close to Hitler in terms of just taking over countries, annexing countries, flexing his muscle and saying, okay, challenge me. You know, I've got nuclear weapons, I've got a giant army, I've got a giant country. You know, I'm taking over the biggest country in Europe, and you can't do anything. Ukraine's the biggest country in Europe in territory. And he's not going to stop there. He has a plan for the entire Eastern Europe. He is now presiding over Russia, which is the future Soviet Union again. I believe that he has designs to reincarnate the Soviet Union monstrosity.
Hasn't he said that explicitly?
Yes.
Except that he's going to
Yeah.
be czar of the entire
Yes.
Soviet Union instead of just, yeah.
And he, you know, for him to do this, he can't have somebody, a strong leader of the United States like Hillary Clinton. He has to have a marionette, a buffoon who he can manipulate in any way he wants, and an agent of chaos like Donald Trump. So I'm very worried.
Here's my question then, and let's put it to Jane. Jane, you are Trump. Tell me when you press the button. Putin has made his way through various states and is now on the border of Poland. Do you press the button? Do you press the button?
I don't know. I can't think like this person, so I don't. I mean, I can't even pretend. I can't even begin to.
Actually, your question is can be answered in a bunch of ways. Are you asking her what she would do if she was Trump, or are you asking her when she would actually?
No,
push the
if
button?
she's Trump.
Yeah, see, that's way too many leaps of logic to make. Like, if you're Trump, why don't you push the button when Putin texts?
Everything
poorly
the man
about
does
you?
is
Yeah.
nonsensical to me, and I can't even begin to.
Yeah, this
Try.
guy is dangerous because his level of incompetency is astronomical. His understanding of foreign policy is zero, and foreign policy is complicated. Foreign policy, in the case with Russia, involves your allies. There's a foreign policy, NATO foreign policy, United Nations foreign policy when it comes to annexing foreign countries. He has no knowledge of the intricacies of this foreign policy. He's looking as a third grader at somebody who sent a friendly tweet about him that helped him win the election. And so he's cozying up with this monster now, and he's going, in the process of doing this, in the process of trying to win the election, he's going against our traditional allies in NATO. And NATO is dismayed because they have a very strict idea what to do to stop Putin. And the biggest country in the world, represented by Donald Trump, is going against their policy. So it's a conflict with our allies, traditional allies.
I guess what I
but-
should have said was, well, that depends if this visit goes well or not. You know,
Yeah, but I mean, does
if
he- does he-
He's that unpredictable.
Yeah.
If I'm a man from Mars, a businessman from Mars, and I come and look at this, is it not reasonable that NATO countries should pay their fair share in some proportionate way?
Jesus.
Well,
we
I'm
get
not
way
even
more
sh-
out of the NATO alliance than can be measured in monetary value.
Ultimately, Putin's goal is to erode NATO, to erode the European Union, to erode the superpowers that are right now maintaining balance in the world. That's Putin's plan, and it's working right now perfectly.
He is
And-
unbalancing the
yeah,
world.
and
That's
part
a
of the
good word.
plan is installing simple-minded buffoon, reality show
useful
guy who has
idiot.
no knowledge of anything, and he has succeeded. And I know I don't like conspiracy theories, but man, it was really sketchy. The results coming in yesterday were very sketchy.
Punxsutawney Phil,
That's what I
I
thought.
need to ask you, if you're standing up on a stage, right, and all these people are out in front of you, do they care? Do they actually give a shit at all?
They would rather laugh than think. You know, it makes much more sense to laugh about the horrible, terrible reality that life is than to confront it and realize that it's just sad and deplorable and there's nothing you can do about it other than laugh.
That's
and
not a
add,
fair question, though.
Add some levity to the situation
Yeah, I mean,
because
if
that's
you're-
all you really can do. once you have that train coming for you and it's gonna hit you, what are you gonna do in the last 2 seconds?
No, seriously. If,
Pray, cry, or laugh.
And
You know?
if you're out at a comedy show, you're out at a comedy show to escape. It's not really fair to ask the people that have gone out and paid their money for a diversion to have an opinion on whether or not Trump is the worst thing that's ever happened.
You are known as the Magic Dr. Orlando.
By the ladies.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like how that got a big laugh.
Yeah. So, having said that, then, what's your prediction for the next 4 years? Today? Now we know we're a day in, so I'm just for
I
flanking
get it.
giggles.
I get it.
What's your prediction for the next 4 years?
My prediction is that the president, the Congress, potentially the Supreme Court, will take this election as a mandate to try to push through some of the more extreme positions. We're going to see an initial coarsening of community here in America. We're going to see people being mean and rude to start. And I hope at least, that it is temporary, because I still believe that Trump is an extinction burst. He's an extinction burst of the privileged white male society that we have lived in, and the fact that our society is changing so rapidly right now is causing people to fear and lash out in really horrible, horrible ways. And that by the end of 4 years from now, either Trump will have done something stupid enough to get himself impeached out of office, or he, along with the Congress and the judicial branch, will have to course correct. So I see this as the worst part of the storm before we start to enter some calm.
Extinction Burst is a great name for a porn movie. Extinction Burst.
Jane, where do you see, in light of the work that you do, where do you see the next 4 years?
Well, I definitely think that Lewis had a couple of really good points, especially about the crassness and the mean. I see that happening, and it's becoming an acceptable social norm for some reason all of a sudden. Nobody has to have any valid points. They can just raise their voice and get somewhere with that. However, honestly, I shut myself away today. I didn't even know about this upcoming visit with Putin because I have not listened to any news. I haven't watched any TV or anything online. I don't know, and that's the worst part. I feel like for the first time in my life,
You don't want to know.
I'm so many things.
Yeah.
Ashamed,
Yeah.
disgruntled, disappointed to the highest level, highest caliber. And I don't know. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to think. At the end of the day, though, you hit a little peak, a little pinnacle of where you just flip a switch and say, well, here it is. Let's see what we can do with this and make the best of what we got, because that's really all you can do at the moment. Just try to find a level of acceptance as best you can, and I don't know.
That is kind of defeatist, but listen, go back to this bit about the Russians hacked the electoral systems of way more than the few states that were publicized.
Mm-hmm.
Way more. And the results that came out were weirdly against the polls.
It was bizarre.
It was
wasn't
bizarre. What are the possibilities that their most successful hacking, the least known hacking, that they let some of it out to make it look clumsy, but actually they've been very, very successful in, as Trump put it, rigging the elections. He told us they were rigged. Why don't we believe him for once?
I want to come back to Mikey.
World War III.
Everybody,
World
So hard
War
to
III,
get a complete
terrorism,
thought
horrible,
done.
horrible, terrible things are going to happen. Run for your lives, people. Okay? You are witnessing the end. The end. It's the end, folks. I'm sorry. This is all it takes. This is all it takes.
We've all seen
First
John
step to the end
Wayne.
of the empire, isn't it?
John Wayne in I can't remember. They were expendable, and they're at a do. and there's a big dance do, right? And they're all in the Navy or whatever they're doing, and some guy walks onto the stage, walks up to the singer and says, "I need to take the microphone," and announces that the Japanese have bombed Pearl Harbor. Or take yourself to England in 1939, one Sunday lunchtime, and the Prime Minister comes on the radio, and you know he's coming on the radio, and he says, "Therefore, we are at war with Germany." For me, in some ways, today feels like an oh shit day, like the Americans had on 9/11. Those aeroplanes really did hit the towers. It has actually happened. This is real. It's not going away. The likelihood that something terrible could happen because you've got someone who's going to have power who is uncontrollable. And we don't even know that the military could control him because that's known as a coup.
Which I can only pray for at this point.
Okay, there's so many things that we have just been able to touch on that Jeremy keeps making us jump around. So
That's what I'm trying to do. It's
yeah,
my job.
Keeping us on our toes.
So, like Ivo, you said earlier that that handling Putin requires your allies.
Yes.
So here's my thought, and this isn't a fully formed thought, so I apologize if this is blatantly wrong or everybody disagrees, whatever. My thought is presuming that the election is legitimate and that he literally just got more votes, and that the
He
polls
didn't
were
get
just
more votes.
I'm sorry, more votes where they counted.
Right. Okay.
That the conventional wisdom was wrong. That is possible. That it's possible that he just outperformed. It's possible that the conventional wisdom is being followed just because it's conventional wisdom. And what I would like to hear from not just Trump and not just Hillary, but pretty much from everybody, is the notion that maybe these are the things that we should question. Maybe the notion that in just this one example, Putin must be contained by a group of allies may have been true at one point, may still be true now, but is it possible to come up with a workable solution where Trump is right?
That, he's right. Well, we know that Putin has plans.
Right.
He has plans for, geopolitical ambitions that are far beyond our interests.
Right.
And he doesn't like he wants to have a buffer zone between himself and the European Union. And, Ukraine was inching towards the European Union. He took over Ukraine, Now, the proximity of our allies in Europe is extremely important, and we cannot work without them.
No, see, this is the thing that I want to emphasize right now. That is the supposition, but there's no guarantee that that's right. There's absolutely no guarantees that there's absolutely no physical evidence or geological formation that dictates that we must have allies to defeat Putin.
Without Europe, what are we to do?
This is my question. No, this is
the proximity of it's there. His plan is not to take over the United States. He wants Europe.
Right.
He wants to have he wants to erode the European Union. He doesn't like having the powerful European Union right next to his door. He doesn't like this.
Do you mean that? I can understand him wanting Poland and Bulgaria and the old, those old states. But are you suggesting that he'd like Germany and France?
No.
And God forbid, Great Britain.
He likes them weak.
You mean
he
mighty
doesn't
Britain.
like them together. Brexit was fantastic for Putin. He was openly celebrating Brexit. He doesn't like strong Europe. He wants it fragmented. He wants it weak. He wants to bleed it out. He wants to be the superpower that they once were. He wants to dictate global policy. And he wants to be a dictator. He wants an oligarchy. He's been, they have a very powerful propaganda machine in Russia that he's spreading in East Europe and in my homeland as well about how flawed the concept of democracy is. he's spreading the idea that democracy is a flawed system. And autocracies, the oligarchy that he has created, is the system to go with, because people need a strong hand and a strong leader, and that's that. And so this stuff is spreading all over Eastern Europe, and they have propaganda
And here.
engines, and it's happening here. So he's on a war path against democracy itself, and it's very dangerous and it's very scary. And we don't need the likes of Donald Trump that are dancing around him and being completely puppeteered, by this man. We kind of needed a completely different leader, to tell you the truth, and I am worried.
So
Yeah,
and
we've already
here's
failed
my-
that bit.
Yeah, but again, sort of going back to my point, we've been sitting at this table talking about Trump for
But
over a year.
he didn't win because of foreign policy. He won because he won over the working white class.
I hear you, but I don't know that you're hearing me when I say we've talked about Trump as in not a possibility for winning for over a year. In fact, the day before the election, every place that I saw thought it was a joke that he was still even running.
Yeah.
Well, couple of interesting points is, and that is some of the talking heads on CNN at least have said, we have to own this. We said there is no chance, 80% chance for Hillary Clinton. How interestingly, in some of the European newspapers on Monday morning, so that's before we're awake, they're saying that the Clinton camp had cancelled a fireworks celebration that they were going to have in New York. And the headline in one newspaper was, "What does she know that we don't?" And I do wonder whether or not we are choosing to ignore, conscious that we have someone, an African American, 2 Europeans, a stand-up comedian, and 2 ordinary people.
How dare you? 2 gorgeous women.
I was wondering what you were going to say.
That the bottom line is that there is a large tranche of Americans, male and female, who don't like black people, they don't like Mexicans, they don't like foreigners, and they don't like people who've been to university.
There's a reason
comedians.
that the median
And
income
comedians.
is...
I mean, look how they are with clowns. I mean, thank God they're not a
What's
clown.
the deal with all the clown hate?
Yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, clownophobia. and all that.
Hey, if it's cold outside, they're cold too. So bring them on in, folks.
Right.
Okay, the median IQ is 100. It means half the people are below that.
But that becomes, you're now elitist. You're being elitist and
I am
sneering.
absolutely being sneering and elitist. And if this situation doesn't deserve it, I don't know what does.
Yeah.
He got
If your
the
IQ is
low-
under 100, you have to strive to raise your IQ. That's how I feel.
Or
Yeah.
you get a gun.
But we've been.
Or a banana.
Trump bragged about appealing to the low information, the low intelligence, the low
We love the poorly
education.
educated. It was very smart. I
Isn't
agree
that
that
a
it was very smart.
democratic
Yeah.
ideal, though?
Yeah.
Well, that is one of the problems with
With respect,
democracy.
folks, you're ignoring what I just said. You see,
No.
and I think this is a sort of habitual thing that Americans do.
We just didn't understand you, dear.
That you don't
It's that
like
accent.
blacks, Mexicans, foreigners,
No,
and so on.
You're right.
think
And
it's
we've
true.
been. Listen, Lewis called this long time ago. He called this last year, and we kind of laughed at the notion that Trump is going to win. And what we don't know, we live sheltered here in Lawrence. 20 square miles surrounded by reality. We are in an echo chamber, just talking to each other, repeating the same talking points all over again. What Lewis knows, he's been already in this world where he's been subjected to prejudice, racism. He's lived this life. He knows that it's everywhere, that it's proliferating everywhere. He knows that it's prolific in this country. And he recognized that this candidate was pandering to this giant
And
part
not
of the
just
population
racism,
that typically don't vote.
but
Sexism.
misogyny,
And
sexism.
he was
Yeah.
galvanizing this populace, which is still to this day the largest voting segment in the country. And he knew what he was doing, and he was doing a good job. And what Jeremy is saying is completely true. There's homophobic, enormous part of the population is homophobic, sexist, misogyny is everywhere, and racism is still rampant in this country, and this is what won the election, and he galvanized this populace.
So I want to wind
Yeah,
this
he
up
did.
because I think we're getting there now. Final question. I want a name. Okay, you're going to each give me a name.
John.
Bubba.
Sue.
Today, who, as a Democrat, do you think should stand in 2020?
Warren.
Elizabeth Warren. So we've got an Elizabeth Warren. Any other names? So Mikey's come up with Elizabeth Warren.
I think-
Names today. I mean, we don't know what's going
They've
to
got to
happen in
be
3
a
years.
younger generation.
Okay, I think Gavin Newsom should run for president in 2020. Gavin Newsom is an incredibly charismatic lieutenant governor of California, the next governor of California. Handsome, incredibly eloquent, smart, experienced already. He's kind of like Trudeau, the Canadian, and I think just on charm alone, he's going to obliterate this man. And I was kind of disappointed he didn't try this year because I believe he's ready, but he wants to govern California
What's
first.
his name again?
Gavin Newsom.
Okay.
Jane, what's your pick? Do you have a pick yet?
As silly and over the top as this is, I would love to see Michelle Obama run. She's
She-
brilliant. I
She
mean,
would've-
absolutely
she would have
brilliant.
won.
Yeah, she would have.
She would have won.
She can run a crowd like no other, and the best part about it is it's sincere. It's genuine. She's a genuine person.
There is no doubt that she
God,
made
that's
two-
who's gonna be the most furious.
She made 2 or 3 almost historic speeches in the last 6
Yeah,
months.
she campaigns well, but she is the wife of the president.
So
No.
is Hillary.
So was Hillary.
Yeah, but she's black and female.
And
so
in a
is
sense,
that
I
is
don't
that
know.
against her?
I think
No.
people could
Lewis,
actually
what do you
forgive her
think?
for that.
I'm thinking That's So Raven.
Pardon me?
That's so. Just
Raven-
ignore it and move
Raven-
on,
No,
Jeremy.
No.
I don't know.
Right.
what
There's a brilliant counterposition. You have the reality star versus the child actor. If they can go bottom of the barrel, we can at least go middle of the barrel.
How about Jon Stewart?
Oh yeah.
He would never do
No,
it. He would never do
I
it.
know,
He
but
has
maybe
too much
we
of a
could just
soul.
drug him or something.
Triumph the Insult Comic Dog, on the other hand, would be fantastic.
Okay, right?
All right, what about
Yeah.
Tom Hanks?
I kid.
Tom Hanks?
Again, wouldn't do it.
You know who might run is Mark Cuban, and he's actually stated
Yeah.
that he might run.
Yeah, that would be a good fit.
Yeah.
But he will run on the Republican ticket most likely. Well, maybe because he supported Hillary, he might actually flip and go Democratic. As it is right now, he presents himself as a moderate a Republican. But this man is an actually self-made billionaire. He has the right ideas. He has the business acumen and leadership to run a country and the economy, and is also a reality TV star, but a completely different kind, and I think he's mentioned that he might run in 2020.
We need a whole generation to come forward of Democrats who are new faces and not the old guard.
Well, I want to give
Gotta
you,
be somebody
as
new.
we come to the end, and I want to say thank you for listening, there is a thought, and that is that our Prince Harry is dating an American girl, and they have to decide where they're going to live. And when we get over all these elections, this is going to become a very, very big story. That one of the guys in line for the brother of the future king is dating an American, and they are very close. I understand that she has already met the royal family quietly, secretly. The only problem is she's an American. Now, what does that mean? Let me explain.
She's greater than he is.
No, she is an American.
That's what I
So
said.
she does not have automatic she does not have automatic residency in the UK.
Oh, come on.
No, really, she doesn't. Any more than he does in America. So if she's going to carry on acting, you know the girl I mean, she's in Suits. If she carries on acting and he decides to come and live here, he will have to be granted American citizenship. How about Prince Harry, the carrot top, who everybody loves and all the women are in love with?
You have to be a naturalized citizen. Haven't you taken that test yet?
But he's the royal family. They own the place.
Oh, God.
And I want to
Kill
leave you
me
with this
now.
final thought. Right? That's 3 finals. The Queen apparently gave instructions to James Bond to deal with Trump. So
Too
if
late,
Trump
I'm
doesn't
still
get
alive.
dealt
Oh,
with, might the Queen decide to get on an aeroplane and come back here and sort things out? As a mother, as a grandmother to a family of an errant child,
Somebody
which
get
America
a gag.
is.
Okay.
And you know,
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. Chris Christie should run, period. Not for president, just Trump.
No one runs in his family. So you've been listening to Wednesday Night Undress. Want to thank the team, of course, Evo, Lewis, Jane, Mikey, who's I don't know what Mikey
been
does.
tweeting.
Mikey's been tweeting. He's been in a Twitter war.
We
all
are
evening.
going to all die.
We're all going to die. Mikey thinks we're all going to die, and he may well be
I
right.
am still a virgin. This is not how I planned on my life would be.
So am I, Mikey. And, of course, the lovely Kathleen. I want to thank our engineer, Neil Rasmussen, and Eric, the producer, for producing, as he always does. You can listen to these podcasts on iTunes and various other places. And again, we want to thank Tom Conroy and the crew here and the audience for listening to yet another slightly more conservative and tongue-in-cheek podcast tonight about the elections. Next week we'll be back to normal silliness. Yay!